are there entry-level jobs in those roles anymore, or are they requiring a higher level of skill set, coming into the job? And obviously that's also going to kind of wean down the available pool for recruiting if that is the case. But we have to face reality. What are your thoughts on this?
The jobs that exist within the supply chain continuum is everything from the distribution tech, which I put up a post and it was amazing how many different ways we call that position, right? There's a lot of different verbiage that's used for that position. But from that all the way up to the buyer, receiving, the coordinators, all of those positions, it's very important that you have people that care about what they're doing and that they believe that what they're doing is part of the healthcare for the patient.
Yeah, I think instilling that passion is critical. We've had a number of podcasts on Power Supply talking about internships and, how do we get that training? And a constant theme in a lot of my discussions, and I know it's covered in our presentation, social media presentation as well, is the fact that OR has an educator on every single time. Many sterile processing departments do, but we don't see educators in healthcare supply chain. And when you're talking about connecting new people to the industry, to the mission, because it's completely different than other industries with supply chain, we're talking about patient lives. And that soft skill that you're talking about, boy, does that ever have to marry up, especially if you're going to have a long career in healthcare supply chain. You have to have that sense of mission. But what about the hard skills? Like, it's one thing to find the right sort of personality type and the right kind of candidate in terms of just their engagement in healthcare supply chain. But what about the hard skills?
Yeah, I think that when you consider what a distribution tech is doing, we'll kind of talk about that position first. Our clinicians rely on the fact that that person has rotated stock, pulled out anything that's expired. They want to be able to grab and go and take care of the patient. The last thing they should have to do is check a package to make sure that what they're using is not expired. So that's on us, which means you've got to have somebody who really cares and is concerned about that. Then we think about buyers who are doing the purchasing. You've got to make sure that they're following processes, that they're buying correctly, that they're getting the right information on the PO, meaning they're ordering 25 each or one box of 25 and not paying attention, and we end up with 25 boxes, right? And then restock fees and all of that. Receiving is a critical position for the AP process because it's really the final step in do I see something that doesn't look right? Because if something isn't received right or isn't matching, then it becomes an AP challenge.
It's that whole analytics piece, right? The critical thinking that maybe you didn't need yesterday, that especially with the back orders is all of a sudden forefront. I mean, even for one person in a leadership position to be able to manage all that and anticipate and see the impact of it out there, across, especially in a large healthcare organization with multiple sites, it's already difficult enough in one hospital with the stock in all the various departments and the efforts towards standardization. But the back orders have thrown a monkey wrench in that ability to kind of do that. And so you need critical thinking on the front lines. What about the role of technology? Is technology going to be able to come and save the day in terms of the level of critical thinking? I'm kind of where I'm going with this is, can certain software packages, solutions, et cetera, bring that AI to the forefront and help do like assisted critical thinking? Is that going to help us maintain entry-level candidates coming into materials management so that that pool is broader? Or is this something that you're thinking is like, no, we're really going to need people who can think critically right out of the gate?
I think we're never going to remove completely the human touch points, right? Because you can. I mean, yes, they can scan a package and maybe it deems that it's not going to expire for the next year. You still need that human to have the right package in their hand and put it in the right place, right? And the negative about supply chain, we are not a revenue generating department per se, right? So when you think about technology and what a hospital is going to spend money on, unfortunately, we kind of end up at the bottom of that. Even EVS ends up with more technology than we have because they'll get a message that a patient's now discharged and they can send somebody off to that room to get it turned over quickly. That's
which goes back to our conversation
have.
on HCAP scores,
Yeah.
right? Like that,
Right.
It may not be a revenue generating center EVS, but it can definitely be a revenue sucker in terms of if they don't do a great job, it's hitting the bottom line. All of those things are still true for supply chain, but I think we're still on this increasing rise of, do C-level executives really understand that investments in support departments are underutilized? And oftentimes when you talk about budget cuts, ironically that this happens in supply chain, not just other supporting departments that are, operational centers. But those budgets are the ones that get cut first. Right. And so we typically whittle it down until all of a sudden, I won't say a catastrophe, but all of a sudden we realize just how under funded and how lean those departments are running. And all of a sudden it breaks and we push it till it breaks. It's so ironic that supply chain, that happens to them. And they're the ones, that are typically managing that.
Right. Well, and I mean, the supply cost is second on any P&L of any hospital. So we spend the most compared to staffing. And in doing that, if we had more assistance, if we had smarter technology, if we had demand planning and all of those things, we could make better decisions. If we knew the expiration date of every single thing in the hospital, we could better manage it. We could be able to share it with another site.
And the cost loss is there. And just as real as EVS, having poor HCAP scores because people don't feel like things are cleanly or it's noisy in there. It's at a time when they're trying to rest, like all of those things that come in, it's still hitting us the same way.
Right. And unfortunately, like I said, though, from a budget perspective, there is a lot of technology out there, but it's not necessarily affordable when it's wanting to be purchased by a department that doesn't create revenue. And I think that when you look at large companies, like I previously was with Stanley Black & Decker, they believed in investing in their supply chain because they truly believed that the investment was going to pay for itself later. Right. We're just not quite there yet in the hospital setting. I think we're going to see more, but the human element is very important, but also the data and being able to work on the data is critical. So unfortunately, many directors end up having to help, whether it's a call out or, vacation or whatever it might be. And the data or the critical thinking, the proactive work kind of gets pushed to the side because they're trying to do the physical work, because the physical work doesn't change. We still have departments that we have to go stock, even if they have 3 fewer patients, our part of it doesn't change. Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic.
And that contributes to burnout, which is a serious concern. And, we need capable people coming in who are able to shoulder that burden for sure. Suzi, great conversation. I almost feel like burnout might be our next topic of conversation. We'll have to explore some topics, but I've enjoyed these, many more coming for the audience on YouTube, and really great work. Just, continuing to have sort of these thoughtful discussions. Would love to see in the comments, whether you're watching a snippet on LinkedIn and Facebook, or if you're watching the whole video on YouTube, would love some comments on your thoughts out there as well. Do you think that materials management, these positions, no longer entry level and require a more higher skill level and experience level? And can technology save us? We want your thoughts as well. Thanks for listening to this video. Suzi, great job.
Thanks, Justin. You take care.